أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه آل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه آل بيته وبارك وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا شفينا حبيبنا مرشدنا محمد نبي الأمي وعلى أهل وصحبه آل بيته وبارك وسلم. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brothers and sisters, today we are going to cover a topic which is of great importance, and the title of the presentation is ilm-e-Qutubiyat. This ilm pertains to the special knowledge or specific knowledge of Islamic teachings, which is given from the hands of the Qutub, and it is mostly the hidden knowledge, the ilm-e-Batin. There are two levels of ilm which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought, which is ilm-e-Zahir and ilm-e-Batin. Most of the people of the Ummah are versed with the ilm-e-Zahir, which is the ilm which is visible, and the ilm-e-Batin is the hidden knowledge which was also given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had given it to two Sahabis specifically. The first was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu anhu. Through him came the Naqshbandiya tariqat, and second was to his son-in-law Ali bin Abi Talib karmallahu wajah. We are going to specifically look into the ilm which was gifted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Ahlul Bayt, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's blessed family through Ali bin Abi Talib karmallahu wajah. And most of the topics that we discuss here is not covered in Sharia, so I just wanted to let the viewers know that it is not in the mainstream Islamic books or traditions that you'll find this ilm. But again, for whoever Allah has destined this ilm, so that they can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is an effort that we are doing through this presentation. Now we go into the topic of who is Ali radiallahu anhu. What is the status of Ali radiallahu anhu? There are very few people who know about his mother. Ali radiallahu anhu was born to Fatima bint Asad, and she and his father was Hazrat Abu Talib, the blessed household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, whether it was Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam's uncles, or it was his immediate family, Khadija, Fatima, were his children and his other daughters, or it was his immediate companions. They all sacrificed the utmost for the bringing the religion of Islam to us and reviving it. It's the same Islam is the same religion which was given to all the prophets and the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right from Adam alayhi salatu wasalam and culminating in Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So going through who Ali radiallahu anhu was, and Ali radiallahu anhu was born inside the Kaaba, inside the precincts of the Kaaba, inside the structure itself. It was said in tradition that just before the birth of Ali radiallahu anhu, his mother Fatima bint Asad, who was the wife of Hazrat Abu Talib, she went inside the Kaaba and she locked the door. And she stayed there for 3 days inside the Kaaba. And the baby was delivered inside the Kaaba with no help of the midwife or anybody, and inside the Kaaba itself. So it was part of a miraculous birth also. And unfortunately, the ummah of today, of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's ummah, very few people know about a lot of truths. We are living in a period where true knowledge is very rare to find. The ilm-e-Zahir, which is the basic Shariat, is available everywhere. But if we have to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have to go deeper in search of ilm, which is ilm-e-Batin. So again, just to know, to let us be get versed, or to introduce ourselves to the high status of Ali radiallahu anhu. Even after he was born, his mother opened the door of the Kaaba. She walked out. He never opened his eyes, and the entire household, including his father Hazrat Abu Talib, thought that my child is born blind. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so happy about the news of his cousin being born, when he went to visit the house of Hazrat Abu Talib, and to want to see the baby. The moment Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lifted the baby in his hand, and took his saliva and mixed it with on the lips of Ali bin Abi Talib, Karmallah Wajah, he opened his eyes. So it is the link we are talking about, and this is an incident which happened before the proclamation of the Nabuwat. So it was before Huzur Salam was 40 years old. So there is a deep link here. A lot of people think that the Nabuwat was bestowed on Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam at the age of 40, which is not true. The reason is because when Adam alayhi salatu wasalam was banished from the heavens, and he was sent to earth with Ummah Awwa, he cried for 40 long years. He did not meet his wife. It was actually, you could say, isolation, complete isolation for 40 years. And people talk about depression in this world nowadays, and the depression in today's world is like when you lose something personal, materialistic, or family, or something. And you can imagine that who else would be more depressed than Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, who was living in Jannah, and then you come down to this dunya, which is the lower world. And so when you lose something, people, billionaires, become bankrupt, and then they go into depression. Well, somebody who lived in Jannah and who was sent down to this lower world, which is the dunya. And Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the hadith said that the dunya is cursed. So and then for his maghfirat, he was shown the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he saw La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah written on the arsh, and he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for his mercy through the intercession of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even though in our Islamic traditions, we are told that Nabuwat was proclaimed at the age of 40, that is for the general people to know that when the message started, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started getting the revelation. But that is not the time when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the prophet, of the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Habib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was always the Habib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before the beginning of the beginning, of the entire universe. So, again, to bring up this point that, Ali bin Abu Talib's soul knew who Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was, and he did not come into this world to see just the normal people. So he opened his eyes, the baby opened his eyes only when the baby was sure that it is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who's carrying me, and if I open my eyes, I'm going to see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was the close bond between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Ali ibn Abi Talib Karmallah Wajha. And it is said that and he is the first male to accept Islam. The first person to accept Islam was Khadija radiallahu anha, and she was the first woman to accept Islam. And the first male was Ali radiallahu anhu. His duty, one of his duty was, to protect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from harm's way. Definitely, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even in the pitch of battles, or whether it's battle of Badr or Uhud or any of these pitch battles, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would jump into the midst of the of the battle where where the most of the fighting is going on, and Ali bin Abi Talib Karmallah Wajha was always next to him, protecting the Prophet with the golden Sahabas, the blessed Sahabas of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those human beings which will never walk on the face of this earth. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give us even a minute drop of the love that the Sahabis had to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this times that we are living in, the end of times, if we are blessed with this deep love to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that is enough for our maghfirat. And unfortunately, all the forces of the materialistic forces, even the spiritual bankruptcy that the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is facing, and they are all focused on taking the individual away from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And again, this is an effort, to help an individual who is in search of truth. If he wants help, there is help, and there are people who are ready to help you. So, and that's the reason these presentations are put together. So, and again, to keep going with the exalted status of Ali radiallahu anhu. He was the blessed husband of daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha. And we all know that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, they all went and asked for the hand of Fatima to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam denied, and then finally the blessed union of Ali radiallahu anhu and Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha were born, Hassan wa Hussein Shababul al Jannah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a hadith he said, Hassan wa Hussein minni, they are from me. And same thing about Ali bin Abi Talib Karmallah Wajha, that even Ali is from me. So the Ahlul Bayt, the immediate family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was blessed with the hidden ilm which was given to the Ummah Muslimah, to the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is from the blessed union of union of Ali radiallahu anhu and Fatima radiallahu anha that a silsila, or a tradition of Qutubs, which was destined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, were born into the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we will go through that in detail in the next slides. In this slide, we talk about a couple of hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam pertaining to Ali radiallahu anhu. In this hadith, Ana Madinatul Ilm wa Ali Babuha, Faman Arada Ilmi Fal Yatil Bab. I am the city of knowledge, and Ali is its gate, and whoever desires this knowledge, let him enter the gate. This hadith again is talking about the not only the Sharia, but tariqat, hakikat, marifat, into Sufiyat. So there's a different levels of Islamic knowledge which was given to the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the knowledge which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is talking about here is not just the ilm-e-Zahir, which is the visible or knowledge, but it's also the ilm-e-Batin, which is the hidden knowledge, which was also given to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's go to another hadith. Again, this is a very famous hadith. It says, "Man kuntum Mawla, fahada aliyun Mawla." Whoever accepts me, who is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as your master, then Ali is also your master. It's a very famous hadith, and there are a lot of Sufis. Hazrat Amir Khusro radiallahu anhu, the Khalifa of Hazrat Nizamuddin Awliya, he has written this famous qawl, which is about this hadith, and it has deep spiritual meaning, and hidden secret ilm is associated with this particular hadith. This announcement Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made when he was returning from Mecca towards Medina. He stopped everyone at a place called Qadir, at a place called as Qadir. Jibril sallallahu alaihi wasallam had come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, Allah has asked you to proclaim. And it was not just a proclamation, it was said that you have to, this is it's a big event. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in fact stopped the caravan, and there were a lot of people, the Sahabas who split before Qadir, and they started moving in different directions, going back to their hometowns. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent horsemen to bring all of them back, and a podium was made, like a small stage, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood on the podium, and then he announced this hadith, which was Man kuntum Mawla fahada aliyun Mawla. And we need to understand that from the Islamic history we know that the Khulafa Rashidin, immediately after the Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam's soul leaving the body, where in Urdu we talk about he did parda, we don't talk about inauzubillah death, but he's just hidden. And we know the Khulafa Rashidin, the four Khalifas of Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Uthman al-Ghani radiallahu anhu, and Ali bin Abi Talib karramallahu wajhah being the last of the Khulafa Rashidin. And after that, there was no more the guided Khilafat, and we have other presentations which we'll talk about, where it's covered in more detail what happened beyond the Khulafa Rashidin. So the point is that here's Hajjatul Wida is over, and this hadith is comes to light, and that Ali radiallahu anhu is your master too. So you have to go to him for learning the ilm-e-Batin. And so and the ilm is very deep. Okay, so I won't be able to do justice even to even 0.0001% in this presentation, but it's just this presentation is just to bring to light that for any individual who's looking for getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there is a path available, a spiritual path which you can go through and attain whatever you are destined for, whatever your soul is destined for. So within this verse lies the secret of our universe, and the secret of the universe, the biggest secret that you and I have to learn and understand is the secret within my own self, because there are other hadiths we'll quote later, where knowing your own self is the biggest secret. And that is the ilm that Ali radiallahu anhu brought to this world, and through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is protected by 12 Qutubs. The Qutubs are very high spiritual beings, human beings, who have attained the closest qurb to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Definitely after the Sahabas, and again, the reason why these Qutubs come in the ummah is to protect this ummah, and also to revive the true Islamic spiritual knowledge, so that people who come later on, who are born into the ummah later on, even in our lifetimes, they still have access to the ilm which was bestowed on Ali radiallahu anhu, the ilm-e-Qutubiyat. And in this ummah so far 11 Qutubs have already come, and it is mentioned in the zikr of the Qutub, which our Shaykh Bawa Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, and the name given to the Qutubs is always Muhyiddin, somebody who revives, gives life to the true deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's the reason they are always given the title of Muhyiddin. And out of these Qutubs, Bawa Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, my Shaykh, he was the 11th one, the 11th Qutub. The 12th one, which this ummah is waiting for, is Imam Mahdi, and inshallah he will come at the appointed time to again bring this ummah back to the spiritual and the glory which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The tariqats, and again, on top of Shariat is tariqat. We have Qadriya, Chistiya, Sorwardi, Naqshbandiya, the Shadliya, Sabriya, Madariya. They are all branches of Qadriya tariqat. And this is again, if somebody is not well versed with it, you can do research on that. And the hidden knowledge is always given through the tariqa, whether it is Qadriya, Chistiya, Sorwardi or Naqshbandiya, which are the main ones. And the chain, the spiritual chain goes up to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it is the knowledge which is transferred from the heart to heart. This, if you really look close to the calligraphy here, it says Allah, Muhammad, Huzur sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Muhyiddin, and says Alif Lam Mim. This is one of the secret ilm which was again bestowed to Ali radiallahu anhu, and if you look at Surah Baqarah, it starts with Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fi, and it is this Alif Lam Mim which is the secret of the entire universe. In fact, if you look at the composition of the Quran, it's in a mystical book, and the Qutubs have been blessed with so much of ilm by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they can take one ayat of the Quran and give you 200 explanation. It's not just the tafsir that you look at, and it's the meaning is deep. And the Qutubs came in the infinite mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of the love for Allah's Habib Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that this ilm was bestowed. And the Qutub at the highest level of all the 12 is Gausul Azam Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani Kailani Jafar al Hussaini Sheikhulillah al Madad al Madad al Madad, and it is through him that the Islamic spirituality was revived. And after the passing away of the Sahabis and the Tabi'in and the Tabi Tabi'in, and this tradition of the Qutubs coming in this ummah, and and we are blessed that the last coming was of Baba Muhyiddin, the 11th Qutub, and he again revived the Islamic knowledge, the hidden knowledge, which was given to Ali radiallahu anhu. So what is this presentation about is the overview of the ilm-e-Qutubiyat and what it encompasses. So we are not going to go deep into the ilm-e-Qutubiyat, but we're going to just touch the surface. And the reason of this presentation is to encourage the viewers to go deeper. And it is this presentation is going to give you a perspective, a comparative perspective of the different types of ibadat, and how people have to start doing research with their analytical wisdom, and the knowledge of Qutubiyat, which is explained in this few slides, is everything which was given to the 11th Qutub, which is Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, and it was the same knowledge which was given to the Qutubs previously who had come. It's the same light, it's the same nur which comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to go into the next slide, talking directly about the forms of worship, and then do a comparative study. So the seeker of truth understands where his focus is being taken to, and so that he can pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and ask for his or her share of the ilm of Qutubiyat, or whatever spiritual knowledge the person is looking for. So we look at the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again, and this presentation, as we said, is mostly about myself, my own self. Okay, the self is the focus, because the ilm of Qutubiyat, when you go to higher levels of spirituality, is you understand your own self, and there is a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam which will be quoted later on, which talks about this ilm of knowing your own self. So let's look at the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The worship of Allah, the one God, the universal soul, the supreme power, our majestic Rabb, who loves me 70 times more than my own mother who gave birth to me loves me. We can worship our Rabb in 3 different states, largely in 3 different states: the worship through the mind, the worship through the heart, and the worship through the soul. And the ilm of Qutubiyat takes a seeker from the worship through the mind, because the logical mind, mind always needs logic, and that's how Allah has created the mind. But there is limitation of the mind, because the mind can only reason with whatever inputs that it has got from the 5 senses, and the 5 senses, the input from the 5 senses is very limited. For example, if you look at your hearing as one of the inputs, there is only a particular frequency of the waves, the sound spectrum that the human beings can hear. For example, the dogs can hear beyond what the human beings can hear, and we cannot. So similarly, seeing, right? We human beings have a limited vision. What the bats can see, the infrared, the human beings cannot. So so again, the mind, because it's just a processing power, its inputs are these 5 senses that we have, is limited. You cannot approach the Quran and the Hadith with this logical mind and try to figure things out, because there will always be limitation. Then the second level is the the ibadat or the worship of Allah through the heart, where you try to go deeper, and there is emotion attached to it, and there is love attached to it, and it's at a deeper level. Sinks in a slightly more. And finally, the third level of ibadat is the ibadat through the soul. And the ibadat through the soul, the person who is the seeker, is again through wisdom. This was the wisdom which was bestowed to Ali radiallahu anhu, and through the union of Ali radiallahu anhu and Fatima radiallahu anha, the blessed Ahlul Bayt had the Qutubs, who have come. And there are different levels of Qutubs. We are talking about the highest level, the 12 Qutubs who have who are from the Ummah, and 11 all have already come, and the 12th one inshallah is being awaited. So the question that we have is, why should we connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the soul? Because necessity drives a human being. For example, unless a person, any human being has, there is necessity, there is luxury, for a human being. So when he doesn't have his immediate necessity fulfilled, that is when he starts looking for things, right? For example, if a person has one house to live in, he is happy in living in that one house, right? So having two houses or more than one house is a luxury. But having one house or a shelter or a roof above your head is a necessity. So here we are going to go deeper into my own self and say, is connecting to my soul so that I do ibadat of my Rabb through the soul, is that a necessity, or it's okay to live without it? So that's where the focus of this presentation is. And the ilm-e-Qutubiyat is, finally, it takes you, step by step into the ibadat of the self, not the mind, not the heart, but the soul, doing ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the famous hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a Sahabi asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how should I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray as if you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you cannot, if you are not at that state, then pray as if you make your being aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing you or watching you every second, every moment. Let's look at the world that we live in. The biggest deception in our life, here's a baby looking at himself in the mirror. I look at myself in the mirror and identify the image as the self. So if you go and stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself and start thinking, is this reflection that I see in the mirror, is that me? And the biggest deception is, if the answer comes within you, yes, this is me, you identify that image in front of you as you, that itself is the biggest deception. So what is the deception? The deception is that you look at the image and say, I am one. But in reality, it is two distinct entities. You have the mind and the soul. So the soul is hidden. The mind, because it's more connected to the body, it's always in the foreground. The soul is in the background. And the entire journey is, spiritual journey, is to go from the mind to the heart, from the heart to the soul. So again, connected together for some time, which is the body plus the mind and the soul, defined as life, which is gifted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this beautiful planet Earth, which belongs to Allah. So the soul comes from the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a pure light. It belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because the soul is not composed of the 5 elemental energies, and we will talk about that, earth, fire, water, air and ether. The body is composed of that, but soul is not. You can ask any doctor, who's a physician, that, where is the soul in the body? He will not be able to answer it. He can tell you where the lungs and the liver and the heart and every part of the physical body, but he will not be able to give you a specific answer saying that where is the soul located in the body. So, and this is the ilm which takes you deeper into your own soul. You know, here's your soul which is there within your own self, and you're not aware of it. So, is it necessary for me to be aware of it and connect to it? So, we'll go deeper into it. So let's look at the function. Because if we have to start identifying the soul, we have to start looking, from critical thinking. So what does the mind do? Mind is again concentrated in the brain. It does processes, thought processes. It stores previous memories, actions, knowledge, what you read, the drama. It gives rise to ego. It is more connected to the self, the survivability, and the reproduction. Basically connected to the animal instinct. Definitely, the human beings are ashraful makhlukat, the highest level of creation. So, the human intellect is the highest level of intellect which has been blessed in the animal kingdom. So, we will go through that in detail. The soul, what is the state of the soul? The soul of any human being, what it wants to do is worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 7/24, 7 days a week and 24 hours a day. That's all the soul wants to do. It wants to go and merge back with the Supreme Lord. Go and merge back. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. From where it came, go back to its house. It's the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what the soul is looking for. The famous hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Man arafa nafsahu faqad arafa rabbahu. The one who understands his own self, he has understood his Rabb. And understanding his Rabb is understanding the entire secrets of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a very famous hadith, and it's a very deep hadith. It's the ocean of ilm-e-Bahr, which this particular hadith is pointing towards. That every human being should try to tap into. And again, it's the destiny of every soul. For example, if you see a butterfly, the butterfly can go. You'll see it always moving around bushes and shrubs and flowers. Similar like the bees. They are always moving around at that height. Then you have the sparrows. You'll see they are sitting on fences and going on small treetops, flying around. If you see the pigeons, they are slightly higher. They go and sit at the third or the fourth floor of a building, and they are comfortable at that height. And then if you look at the falcon or an eagle, it's thousands of feet above in the sky, and it's comfortable at that level. So whatever is the destiny of each human being, the soul of that particular human being, whether it is destined to go to the level of a butterfly, of a sparrow, of a pigeon, or an eagle, that is where up to which that soul will be able to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this ilm-e-Qutubiyat is at the level of the eagle and the falcon. And for those blessed souls who can go deeper into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and get their qurb, their nearness. Let's look at what the mind is composed of. The mind again, is focused on the self. The three most important people in my life is I, me, and myself. So me, I, the entity, is surviving in this world, and that is the most focus. How do we relate to that? Just to give an example, Suppose that you have a bad toothache. You have one of your wisdom tooth and it's paining really badly, and you're just not able to lift your head up because of the pain. And say your brother or sister walks in and says, oh, 200 people have been just killed because a boat capsized in the Mediterranean, or you know or one of those cruise ships capsized and few people were killed. When you hear the news about 200 people being killed and you have a bad toothache, so what do you think is going to be your focus at that particular point? Definitely your toothache. So this is where again the I, me, and myself is the focus comes in. Every human being have to have the instinct of survivability, but it has to be controlled. When people, when human beings, the amount of power that Allah has bestowed on the human being is immense. One human being can do positive things and change the world, like the messengers and the prophets, the Qutubs and the Walis of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The saints who have come, they come and change human being for the better. And there are human beings who are tyrants and terrorists and the negative elements who can also do a lot of damage. So where is the saints and the blessed, the highly spiritual evolved beings? They are connected with their souls, and the negative elements are connected to the five elemental energies. And again, looking at this particular the slide, the five elemental energies pulling oneself down, the entire physical universe is created from there: earth, fire, water, air, and ether. Now, we're not looking at earth, fire, water, and air and ether as a negative way. No. The earth is important, it gives me a living. The fire is important because if I have to cook food, I need fire. It's the sun's warmth which brings the planet back to life. Water is extremely important. What if it does not rain? Vegetation is gone. The life will not sustain on this earth. Air is important because that's what we breathe in and breathe out. The etheric sphere is important because that's what sustains life on the planet around the earth, the magnetic field. These five elements are part of the human body, provided they are controlled by the soul itself. And we will talk about that in the next slides. These five elements have to be subdued and the soul has to be sitting on top of them. Then the human being will be productive in the positive way. And if these five elements are out of control, then this five element gives rise to 4 trillion energy levels, which Baba Muhyiddin talks about. And these 4 trillion energy levels, if not controlled, are destructive. And that's what goes against the creation and the nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in His infinite mercy, and creates damage to other fellow human beings and animals. So what is the base reason of the sins and the negative energy? Is the mind controlling the individual by becoming a slave of desire. So again, desire, it's a small slide here, Satan taking people to hell, which is a combination of the 5 elemental energies dominating my earthly life during my lifetime. And unfortunately, the concept of rebirth or being resurrected again, we have to think it in a slightly more critical way and deeper. Whatever energy level that I reached towards the end of my lifetime in this earth is the energy level that I'm going to be born into in my next life. In the Hindu scriptures, they talk about rebirth. Almost all religion, in the Islamic tradition, we talk about the day of resurrection. it again talks about accountability, that this particular life of 60 to 70 years or 80 years that we live in this planet, it's not that everything ends here. You have the next life is, you're going to be held accountable, and you have to, there is going to be a day of judgment, and you're going to be decided by the Supreme Lord. So most of the reason why evil exists in the society is because few individuals or a lot of individuals, they are not able to control their desire, and the desire could be because of the earth element, the fire element, the water element, or the etheric element. So what is the destiny of my soul, whether it is heaven or hell? Again, religions talk about heaven and hell. These are not, you cannot look at them as physical places that you go to. In a more spiritual way, it is the states that your own soul has attained before you leave this earthly body, before the soul separates from the body. Whatever spiritual state your soul has reached to, based on your deeds, your karma, what you have done in this lifetime that Allah has blessed you, is the state of your soul. So if you look at, balance yourself out and say, whether I've done a lot of positive, then you are into that positive energy field. If the person has done negative, then that's what the negativity he is going to be in, and the Supreme Lord is going to be holding that soul accountable for that particular state. So the point here is, I write the script of my soul's destiny, whether it's heaven or hell, and it's not Allah. So I cannot look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, it's my fate. No, I have been given a free will. Right now I can make this presentation sitting here, or I can go to sleep. It's only 4:30 in the morning here. So the point is again that it's my choice here. So the destiny of my soul is written by my own self, nobody else. And here's where accountability comes in. How should I live my life? There is more at stake, and we are going through that. Again, looking at the nature of human being, pursuit of happiness. Every human being on this planet Earth, is looking for pursuit of happiness. Why do you people work hard? Study hard, and try to make a lot of money? Why do you think so? Because they think that when you have a lot of money, then I will have a good life and I'll have more happiness. Definitely, money does take care of a lot of issues in the life. So money is definitely needed for having a good life. If you don't have much money, then you have other issues. So, but is that only going to suffice you? Or once you have the money, then has the soul been satisfied with the luxuries a person has in his life? If that was the case, then the billionaires and the rich people of this world should be the most spiritual people too. But that's not the case. You find that the rich people also, they have unhappiness in their life. So it is not the big houses and the luxuries that they are used to and bestowed in this world which is going to give them happiness. So in this world, through external luxuries and external stimulus, materialism, it gives one temporary pleasures, which we agree, but it is always accompanied with sorrow sourced by the five elemental energies. So whatever materialistic pursuit one has, again it is related to the 4 trillion energy forms that the Qutub talks about. So whatever you go towards that, it's always accompanied with a sorrow behind it. It's not all bliss there. Life becomes a burden and a punishment and a hell of an existence. So then what is the purpose of my life and goal? So something is missing here. How can I fill the vacuum? What next? That is how most of the people, if you look at the blessed souls, whether it is Gautam Buddha, he was a prince, Siddhartha, and he was born in a place called Lumbini, which in today's Burma, the country called Burma, and he had everything in his lifetime. He had luxury, he didn't have to work for a living, everything in his lifetime. But at one point he just felt deep sense of sadness within himself when he saw the beggar on the street, and when he saw people who were downtrodden. He just couldn't relate to his own life, and he went, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlightened this human being, and Gautam Buddha was given enlightenment. So now, so again, looking at the mind which goes behind desires, and the soul which is in the background. But some point, if a person is lucky, the soul comes to the foreground and questions the mind, saying that, is this good enough? I am not satisfied, the soul is not satisfied. As we said, the soul is only satisfied by doing ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just to look at how Allah the Quran defines me in the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya ayyuhan nas antumul fuqara ilallah. The Quran says that, oh you people, you are or the poor and the needy ones. My Rabb, who loves me 70 times more than my own mother who gave me birth loves me, says that I am a fuqara, I am a poor one. So if I am proud of myself, if because of what I have accumulated in this world, then this goes against the ayat of the Quran which says I am a fakir. And who's a fakir in the dunya? Who has nothing. So looking at the myself, if I am very well off, with a lot of materialistic comfort and belongings in the world, that the Quran says I'm a fakir, a beggar, then anything belonging to me on this earth, which is the materialistic belonging, cannot define me. And unfortunately, this is the focus of today's world, that people are more towards accumulating wealth. So what does that mean? My house, my car, my job, my career, my business, my status in society, my bank balance, my identity, my success, my children, and most importantly, and this is so unfortunate, my religion. I am following Islam, I go to heaven. I am following Christianity, I go to heaven. I am following Hinduism, I go to heaven. I am following Judaism, I go to heaven. Unfortunately, the human being is so egocentric. Instead of going to higher levels of spiritual knowledge, where the love and compassion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whether it is Prophet Moses or Jesus or the prophets who came previously, people compartmentalize themselves because I cannot be wrong. So the identity is so center focus here. But then let's look at yourself. Let's look at myself, and just ask quickly one question: who am I? Where did I come from, and where am I going? If you ask these three questions to your own self, who am I? Is me the person who is born to this father and mother? Where did I come from? Definitely from the mother's womb, but before that. And where am I going after my death? The Hindus, they cremate the bodies. The Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians, they bury the bodies. So whatever the form is, where am I going? So answer these questions with absolute certainty. Unless I know the baggage of my karma, of my deeds, of my soul, I will not be able to dissolve it. So the deeper sense is, for example, a human being can be born blind. Or some human being can be born without sense of hearing or talking, deaf and dumb. So you ask yourself the question, why is this person deaf and dumb versus I have, I can talk, I can see, I can hear. So why is the Supreme Lord, given me these sense of hearing, and this particular person was deprived of? So the deep sense of karma, the knowledge of karma can only explain that. If you now ask a normal Muslim, he'll say, oh, it is because of the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But is that sufficient explanation? Allah loves every person 70 times more than your own mother loves you. And he is Ya Adil, he's the most just. So when he made a choice of making somebody blind versus somebody not blind, it just like a flip of a coin, or it was more to it. So these are deep ilm, which one has to ponder upon to understand who your Rabb is. Because if you don't know why a person has been born blind versus a person has been given vision, if you don't know that secret, then you don't know your Rabb. So if you don't know your Rabb, how can you love somebody whom you don't understand? And that's all the point of the ilm of Qutubiyat is to really understand your own Rabb, to understand the mercy and to feel the mercy of your own Rabb, who says that I love you 70 times more than your own mother loves you. So if I don't have an answer of a child being born blind versus a child having vision, and I just say it's because the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, well, that still does not give me a full explanation. Okay, so that's where we are going to. We came empty-handed into this world, in the physical world, the earth, and finally, here's a baby, who's got a strap, the strap given in the hospital, and here's a body, which is in the masjid, it is ready for burial. Question is, who subdued who at the end of this journey, starting from the baby coming from the mother's womb, the monkey mind or the soul? Who won the battle? Lived the life listening to your soul, which is heaven, or your mind, which is hell. So that's where the whole journey is. Let's look at soul, the secret of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's try to define it. Try to at least get a little bit understanding. It has no shape, no boundary. Your body itself has a shape and a boundary. Soul has no shape and a boundary. What is the size? The size of the soul is smaller than an atom. So you can imagine your body, which you can see, at yourself, and you may be at certain height and weight, but the soul is smaller than an atom. But how profound is it? The moment it separates from the body, you can be declared dead. The soul itself, which is the pure light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it belongs to Allah and has the qualities of Allah. If nurtured properly by controlling the monkey mind, the soul, which is eternal, cannot die, can travel without space and time limitation. If nurtured properly, it will go to its final destination, which is going back into the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is the journey of illallahu, nothing but Allah. Allah, only you exist. I don't exist. What does that mean? Allah, you exist, the soul exists, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the universal soul exists, but my monkey mind, I don't exist. So the whole journey is to negate my own self and to understand the azmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The 5-time Islamic prayer, before you start your prayer, you say Allahu Akbar, and then you fold your hands. How important and is Allahu Akbar? How central, when you say Allahu Akbar, do you really mean it, or it's just some chanting? Does the soul see the light of Allah and say Allahu Akbar? So, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. People die, and the Muslims say Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Well, where Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un can be for the earth, the body, the earthly body, as well as for the soul. Well, we came from where? The body came from earth and it went back to earth. That is one Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. But what about the soul? Came as a pure ray of light from the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to return back into the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that is only possible if the soul has attained that level of maturity and wisdom. If the soul, And we will talk about in the slides, in the following slides, if the soul, if the human being has lived his life with never connecting to his soul, then the soul has not attained any wisdom. So how can it go back to the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is illallahu? Definitely the body goes back into the Mother Earth's womb, the womb of Mother Earth. That is inna lillahi inna ilaihi rajiun. That is another one journey of the body. What about the journey of the soul? So what should be my focus, in this journey, of life? Baba talks about the 5 oceans that every human soul has to cross, and it's in the mystical journey book. So the focus is again my commanding self, the ego, the 3 most important people in my life, I, me, and myself. And here's the picture of a horse rider, riding a magnificent horse, which needs to be tamed. You look at this picture, you see that there's a sense of direction. The rider is very focused. He knows where he's going. The horse is obeying the command of the rider. And you look at the picture here, you feel that, well, they are definitely, as one team, trying to accomplish a goal. And what is the horse depict? The horse is the lower self, which is the nafs, which is the body, which is connected to the mind. What is the rider? The rider is my soul. And the reins which the soul is controlling, the nafs, is the laws of Sharia. So the laws of Sharia is, again, you don't want to look at as some strict rules and regulations which came in the Islamic traditions and making my life very difficult. No, the laws of Sharia is, finally, when you follow it properly, it controls the 5 elemental energies. The wudu that you do with water, it cools oneself, and there are so much of the sins of the human being when you do wudu, whether it's from the eyes or the ears or the hands, it gets washed off when you do wudu from a spiritual point of view. So everything to control the 5 elemental energies is is the focus here. So this is a good depiction of the horse and the rider. Again, the horse being the lower self, which is the body, which is controlled by the mind. So the soul has to be in the foreground and taming the lower self and controlling it and giving it direction, not the other way around, where the horse is in control with its mind and the rider does not know where he is going. Think about that. Look at the same picture and say, what if the horse was in control and the rider does not know where he's going? He has no control over the horse. And this is what happens to most of the human beings' life. They are just taken from one incident to another incident, or they pass through life and there's a lot of turmoil, and they are not able to have a peaceful life or a peaceful ending. And that's unfortunate, the life that we are living today. If you look around in the world, there is very little peace, whether it's in a country, in this world, in a country, in a continent, in a country, in a city, in a state, in a city, in a community, or in an individual, in the heart of an individual. So something is missing here. We human beings are the most evolved beings on this planet, and we can either destroy this beautiful planet or we can live together. So every human being has a responsibility to go within his own self, because if I take care of my own self, then at least I am not going to be that harmful person. I'll be compassionate and merciful to my fellow human beings, to my fellow animals who live on this planet, and have a peaceful life and a peaceful ending. The greatest reality of the earthly life is we all will depart from this world. Whether it was Alexander the Great or King Ashoka the Emperor, they conquered the whole parts of the whole world. They are not here anymore. So if for example, if Alexander the Great comes in today and he says, well, the whole region of from Greek towards you know the Central Asia belongs to me. Well, it's different countries today. Nobody's going to listen to him. What if the great King Ashoka Emperor comes today, and who was one of the greatest emperors in India, and he says, well, the part of Afghanistan, the whole of Pakistan and India, the Nepal, Burma, and all these countries belong to me. Nobody's going to listen to him. So it's all temporary. The owning something is very temporary. And so it keeps passing, changing hands all the time. So greatest reality is what? What is the reality then? If the things that belong to me doesn't define me, then what is the reality? The soul departing from the body one day is reality. Every night, and it is in the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that the sleep is the little sister of death. Every night, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, when you go to sleep, takes your soul away, and the soul is like approximately 10 to 15 feet above your body, in that range. It's not in your body. And then when you get up, the soul is again put back into your body. So every night you taste the little sister of death, which is sleep. And the hadith, the ayat of the Quran, which says, "Kullu nafsin zaikatul maut." Every human being has to taste death. So let's go into the reality that why I should connect to my soul. The next few slides are going to talk about, is it a necessity that I should connect to my own soul, or it's okay, it's not a big deal. A person dies, what happens? We know in the Islamic tradition, we have to answer these three questions. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in the hadith that the person, the soul, person who answers this question in the grave, inshallah, he will be given Jannah. So what are the three questions? Man Rabbuka, who is your Lord? Madinuka, what is your religion? And Man Nabiyuka, who is your prophet, who is a messenger? Or the form of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is shown, and then you are asked to identify the Prophet of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So if you ask these questions, who is your Lord, what's your religion, and who is your Nabi, a normal Muslim who doesn't even pray 5 times a day, he will be able to answer these questions. Who is your Lord? Allah. What's your religion? Islam. Who is your Nabi? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you can literally answer these questions within 30 seconds. So then what's the big deal that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that the one who answers this question in the grave will be given Jannah? If you can answer this question within 30 seconds, when you ask this question in the dunya, in this lifetime, you can answer this question. So what's the big deal? You already know the answer. So why can't you answer that in the grave? So is connecting to my soul optional? If during this lifetime, I have not made any connection to my soul, to train my soul, then, but lived a life dictated by the mind, then how will this soul answer the questions? So the question again is, in the grave, what is going on, right? So what is the hopeless situation in the grave that we are talking about in this slide? Let's look at it. In the state, in the grave, the brain activity in my dead body has ceased. The mind is not responding anymore. The mind, which had the input from the 5 senses, is not working because the mind is dead. There is no heartbeat. The 5 senses are dead. There is no brain activity. So when these questions were asked, who is your Lord, what's your religion, and who is your Nabi, the 30 seconds answer which was given by the monkey mind, because it just by hearted that answers. It knows it. It's in your in your brain, stored somewhere. But in your grave, what happens? The mind is not there anymore to help you. there is dead silence within me. The two angels which is sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Munkar wa Nakir, alayhi salatu wasalam, they are waiting for my answers. So who is that going to answer the angels? It is not the mind, brothers and sisters. It is the soul which has to answer these questions. So after the questioning, whatever orders the has to be carried out, the angels carry out that orders, and that is happens to be my destiny, which is written on the preserved tablet, Lawhul Mahfuz. So this is where we have to think deeper, that if one has lived a life, without any regard to connecting to my own soul, then just connected to mind, is that mind of any use as soon as I enter the grave? So the point is, if I need to answer these three questions in my grave, I have no option, but I have to connect to my soul and train my soul in this lifetime, and do ibadat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through my soul, connect to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam through my soul. And this is what the Qutubs have brought. The ilm-e-Qutubiyat this is the central piece of it. How do you connect to your soul? Let's look at the purpose of creation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defines my purpose in the Quran. وَمَا خَلَقْنَا الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. He says, I have not created the jinn or ins, the jinnat or the mankind, except to do my worship. So this is the purpose of creation from the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the soul. The body still have to survive, right? So you have to go to work, you have to study, and all those things are part of it. But again, the ultimate goal is what? For the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my five elemental energies, my body and my mind, has to be the supporting element for my soul, for its journey to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to know Him, to love Him. Because when you start knowing Him and understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you get close to Him. The mercy and the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah says, I love you more than 70 times your own mother loves you, you start experiencing that love. And that love is channeled through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So there are different levels you have to go through. You have to go through Fana fi Shaykh, that is annihilation into your Shaykh, Fana fi Rasul, annihilation into your Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then Fana fi Allah. 3 steps you have to go through. And again, going through these steps is the purpose of creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The worship of Allah, we'll quickly go through these slides. Okay, so we understand worship through the mind trying to figure out Allah, who is infinite, and not comprehensible, cannot be understood by the brain. You're trying to understand something which is infinite through finite resources. It's a bottleneck. You cannot do that. Shaitan did the same mistake when he was asked to bow in front of Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, and he tried to figure it out. So the question is, how can I figure out Allah's wisdom with the help of my monkey mind or my brain, where the processing power is limited? We go to the next one, which is the higher level of worship, second higher level, which is through the heart. The heart is the seat or the center of feeling and emotion, the seat of love and emotion, connection. Again, it could swing like the pendulum, based on situation or circumstances. In any relation, whether it's a father-mother relation or husband-wife relation or child-father relation, any of the human relations that we have, it could swing like a pendulum based on circumstances. So does my relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also swing like a pendulum, positive sometimes, negative sometimes? And unless the heart is supported by wisdom, and which we'll talk about in the next slide, which is the deep ilm or the ilm-e-Batin of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where all the answers to your existence, to your state of life has been given to you. And then with this wisdom, you look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and understand His magnificent plans, Then you start, understanding your Rabb. You start loving Him. And the soul yearns to unite back with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So worship of Allah through the highest level is through the soul. The soul can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, it is not the physical eyes which sees, it is the eyes of the soul which sees. There are deep zikrs which are given through the ilm-e-Qutubiyat, which is the zikr of the soul. There is the zikr, we'll talk about the different levels of zikr. So Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu, the 11th Qutub brought this ilm, revived this ilm. It was revived this ilm because the previous Qutubs have brought the same ilm. And it talks about the 7 levels of wisdom: the feeling, awareness, intellect, assessment, subtle wisdom, divine analytical wisdom, and divine luminous wisdom. And these are the different levels that, starting from feeling, awareness, the animal kingdom, and we'll go through this in depth, 7 levels of wisdom. And just to, again, this presentation is not going to do justice to this topic. Is very deep. You need years and years of study and contemplation. Presentation is just to motivate or to shed some light, so that if an individual is destined for this ilm, he knows that this is a path to be followed. And let's look at where we said that the soul does the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if the soul sees Him. And where is that? It says Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi Hudal lil Muttaqin. And this is the first ayat, after Alif Lam Mim, where we started our presentation. Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi Hudal lil Muttaqin. This book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He revealed the Quran, as soon as Surah Fatiha, Surah Fatiha is a beautiful prayer between the Abd and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where the initial part of the prayer is the Abd of Allah, creation of Allah, glorifies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, and then Malik Yawmiddin, Master of Day of Judgment. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. I only worship you and ask from you. And then the rest part of is the Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim. Guide me through, straight path, not of the path which, where people went astray, or the path which earned your anger. So as soon as that prayer is over, here's Alif Lam Mim. The foundation of the creation is Alif Lam Mim. And on top of it is the first ayat which comes as Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi Hudal lil Muttaqin. That this book is a book of guidance, but Allah has put a condition right there. He's put a condition. Guidance for who? Not for everybody. For the Muttaqin. And when you look at fear, we have to look at this, go deeper into your own self. You don't say Muttaqin and say, okay, Muttaqin, and just move on. No. The fear, the element of fear, when you look at from a physical perspective, the highest element of fear is facing whatever is the object of fear. It could be, for example, a lion. Say you are seeing a lion, right in front of you. It's hungry, it's in the jungle. It's looking for food. Now, object of fear close to you, you're seeing it, visualizing it. It's the highest object of fear, level of fear. Then there could be the fear of knowing that, there are, animals called lion in the jungle, and they are ferocious, and when they're hungry they don't look here and there, they can come and attack you and eat you. So that's the object of fear, where you're knowing the fear. The first is facing the fear, second knowing the fear, third is hearing about it, you know hearing about the fear. How do you hear about the fear? You just heard the lion roar, and you are in a cottage in the jungle, and the roar of the lion is sends shivers down your spine. And so these are different levels of fear. Fear, the highest level being seeing the fear itself, the object of fear, hearing about the fear, hearing it, the feeling the fear, knowing about the fear. So what is the highest level of fear is when you see the object of fear directly, and that is where the soul starts seeing the effulgent light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What if you get to a high spiritual level where you see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in your dream? And the Sufis say that seeing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the dream or in his lifetime, there is not much difference, because you have got the didar, or the closeness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Definitely the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are the highest of the high, but can we even get the closeness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Yes, you can. There are different levels where when a person travels through. So what is my soul? The soul can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the highest level of being muttaqeen. And we talked about the 7 levels of wisdom. When an individual reaches the seventh level, divine luminous wisdom, that is when his soul starts seeing the effulgent light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The soul is light. You connect to the soul within your own self to witness the effulgent light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and merge with Allah. And in the lot of ayats of the Quran, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the nur of the samawat, the skies, the heavens, and the earth. And the nur, not just the physical nur, it is the spiritual nur that one the soul witnesses. So how do we go about in this path? How do you get to that purification? So here's a quick overview. Again, this is deep. We're going to go through a quick overview. The steps to connect to my soul. First condition, purification of my body, important. Purification of my heart is important. Second level. And the journey of realization of my soul, which is through wisdom. So all these 3 steps have been given by the Qutubs and the Sheikhs, of the tariqats. Witnessing illallah, la ilaha illallah, the effulgent light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, we're talking about the levels of witness from the highest to the lowest. Seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. And as person starts from knowing and then going to feeling, going into hearing, and going to seeing, the realization goes deeper and deeper. The purification of the body. The Sharia talks about it. The Islamic spiritual purification. Bath, the wudu, which is purifying before the 5-time prayer. And this is just a list of things. There are so many, but I just covered a little bit so that people know what we're talking about. The clipping of the nails every week, cutting, shaving hair once at least 40 days, dressing cleanly, modestly as per Islamic rulings, eating vegetarian and halal meat, zabia if available, else prefer vegetarian diet for faster spiritual progress. The presentation on zabia is available. We have put a presentation on zabia in the same channel. If you go look for in the YouTube, We talk about zabiha as prescribed by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the ilm given by the Qutubs. It is not the halal meat shop of today where you go and just buy meat for a few dollars. No. So, again, it's a different topic. It's an hour and a half presentation, and you can go and understand that ilm. So all this put together, is the purification of the body. The purification of the heart is through the zikr of Allah. To get rid of what? All these, qualities of pride, falsehood, arrogance, haste, impatience, vengeance, treachery, deceit, jealousy, murder, lust, anger, hatred, backbiting, to name it. These are all the sickness of the heart. You have to get rid of all this. So here's the external purification of the body, the internal purification of the heart, and these are all step by step. There is deep zikr and ibadat that you have to do, and slowly you proceed in this path, and you see the purification happening. And again, going through the steps, we're trying to compare, the feeling, awareness, intellect, assessment, and with what it is relating to. The feeling and awareness and intellect, the first three levels of the wisdom, is connected to the mind. Okay, so the animal kingdom, if you have a cat in your house or a pet in your house, the animal kingdom has the first two levels of wisdom, which is feeling and awareness. For example, what is feeling? If you light a lamp, and if you take your hand close to it, you feel the warmth. So that is just the feeling. Now, what is awareness? If you take your hand, palm close to the lamp, the feeling which has gone into your brain, the brain cells, will analyze it and say, oh, the flame is closer to your little finger. And the awareness, that's where the awareness comes in. Oh, it's next to the little finger. And based on the intensity of the flame and the senses, the brain will give another direction that if you don't move your hand, you're going to burn it, you're going to damage it. So that comes from the intellect. So these three stages, the feeling, awareness, and intellect, is available in every animal kingdom, which is including human beings. The human being the highest level. For example, a cat does not know about the whole world. It cannot drive a car. It cannot write a letter. The human being is the most intellectual being on this planet Earth. So again, there is limitation that we talked about, right? So the feeling, awareness, and intellect is up to the mind level. And mind is always logical and it has limitation. Then you go to the next level, which is assessment, where you look at right and wrong, and your heart starts trying to control you. Even though your mind wants it, the heart might not want it. If somebody does a wrong thing, the heart gets burdened. The mind doesn't get burdened, the heart gets burdened. The heart feels sad. So that is the level assessment. Again, the animal kingdom has the first two levels and part of level 3, because they have limited intelligence, like an elephant has limited intelligence. So similarly, the human race, again, this is coming from the Qutubs, 99.99% manage to reach level 3, because they have to have a living, they have to study, they have to get a job, run business, accumulate wealth, live a life on this world. That's all up to intellect level. For a normal human being, you don't have to go beyond the intellect level to just sustain life on this earth. The fourth level is again assessment, where you judge what is right and wrong. So very few people, few individuals get up to level 4, where it is not the right and wrong based on what I think. It is the right and wrong based on the divine wisdom which has been given through divine scriptures and prophets and messengers. So that's what the right and wrong means. It doesn't mean that I have analyzed myself and I feel this is right and wrong. That still goes into the intellect level, which can make mistakes, and it can be a hell for your own self. And again, it says that very few reach level 4, and but fall down to the two levels of feeling and awareness. And feeling and awareness is directly connected to survivability and reproduction. So this is the basic animal instinct. The purification of the soul, the subtle wisdom, divine analytical wisdom, and divine luminous wisdom. The subtle wisdom is again connected to the heart, and that's where the soul, you start entering into the soul, the realm of the soul, the divine analytical wisdom and divine luminous wisdom. So going through the 7 levels of wisdom, it's a journey. Feeling, awareness, intellect, assessment, subtle wisdom, divine analytical wisdom, and divine luminous wisdom. So as a person matures through this different levels of wisdom, the individual is taken from the mind to the heart into the soul. So the Qutub, which is Muhyiddin, what does Muhyiddin do? Takes one through each levels of wisdom till one reaches the divine luminous wisdom, which is the station of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, and beyond that, the divine luminous wisdom is where you merge into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it says one in 1,000 gets into gets this knowledge. So if you're listening to this, you might be that 1 in 1,000 which is destined for this ilm, for this sacred knowledge. Okay. How to attain peace in this life? Let's look at what the Quran says. Alladina amanu wa tatmaina qulubuhum bi zikrillah wa ala bi zikrillahi tatmaina qulub. Those who believe and those whose hearts find their peace in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And verily it is in the remembrance of Allah that these hearts find peace. So here's Quran summarizing everything, that if you're looking for peace, it is only in the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing else is going to give you peace. So we will talk about the zikr in the next slides. Purification of the heart, again, Sharia, feeling and awareness, the basic Sharia. Tariqat, intellect and assessment, this is where the comparison is going on. The method of zikr, external zikr, which is the constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala using the tongue. The ibadat of the 5-time prayer, 5 pillars of Islam, prayer, fasting, Hajj, Zakat, the Durood, whatever, the Salawat on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the external, reciting. So the external zikr, the first one, remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the tongue, then the ibadat constitute the Sharia. And the Sharia takes you from feeling awareness into intellect. But again, the level of is limited. Once you get into tariqat, is where the intellect is more groomed properly, because if you have to tame a horse, you need to have a rider. So the sheikh acts as a rider for the disciple. So if you don't have a rider for the horse, then the horse is not tamed. So tariqat is where the sheikhs come into picture, and they basically train the disciple to use the intellect properly, and assessment, which is judgment of right and wrong, halal, haram, And the tariqat, does that using the internal zikr, which is the zikr of the breath, and there are a lot of khafi zikr, the silent zikr, the Naqshbandiya, the Qadriya, Chistiya, Sorwardi, the Sabriya, all these different tariqats, they do the internal zikr. The haqiqat is the third level, which is again connected to the subtle wisdom. The marifat, which is the divine analytical wisdom, which is the ilm which comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sufiyat is the divine luminous wisdom, which is the wisdom which takes you towards to ilallahu, to unite with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The souls return back to the heart of Allah, to be suspended in the state of total peace, witnessing the divine. For these souls which have reached that higher state of Sufiyat through traversing through the different levels of wisdom, for these souls there is no accountability on the day of judgment. Every hisab is completed in the dunya. In fact, the walis and the Qutubs of the ummat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will intercede for other souls on the day of judgment. So this is what the highest level of the Qutubs and the Abdals and the awliyas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they reach, where they merge with the divine, and then their intercession is accepted on the day of judgment. And that is the blessing of the ummat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is said on the day of judgment, the normal walis of this ummat, they will have gatherings behind them which will be more than that of the previous nations of the prophets. And because these walis, because of we are belong to the ummat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah has opened up the entire spiritual accession, because our Nabi is the Nabi who went to Miraj. No other creation of Allah has gone for Miraj. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the Noor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have covered that in another slide, which is called of Fanaf Rasul presentation, which is available. And that's the reason we are not talking about that in depth here. Again, quickly, looking at the human body, this is again to give the viewer an idea of the direct relation between the human body, which is absolutely necessary. It's a tool that is needed to take me to these different levels. I cannot ignore my body. This body is the vehicle which will take me to the higher level of consciousness. So I have to take care of this body. And if within the body there is spiritual energy levels and center, and spiritual energy levels and centers which get transformed as you progress individually through the 7 levels of wisdom. So just to give you a basic idea, the root, there are 7 chakras or energy centers in your body, and it talks about in the Vedic scriptures about these 7 chakras. It's also there in Islamic spirituality, but these are hidden ilm. Just throwing this out so that to understand that why should we compartmentalize religion and look at people separately. Everything brings you back to the same source. But definitely after the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every soul has to understand the relation between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because Allah says that I would not have created the entire universe if it was not coming for the coming of my beloved Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So every human soul on this planet Earth has to understand the role of the prophets, whether it's Prophet Moses, Jesus, or all of them who have come before. So let's look at the human body quickly. Look at the chakras, the root or the base chakra, which is also called as Kundalina in the Sanskrit word literature. So root, the base, the second one, the sacral. These two together, Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anh, the Qutub of Allah, he says this is the Sharia. Anything below the navel is Sharia. And then he talks about the tariqat, which is from the navel up to the chest. So it is the second two on the top, which is the the solar plexus and the heart, which is the tariqat. Then from the chest up to the throat, which is the third one, which is haqiqat, which is the higher heart, which talks about divine love, forgiveness, and compassion. And the fourth one, on the top of it, it talks about the at the throat we see the another chakra, which is about communication and expression. So the higher heart and the throat is haqiqat. And if you go beyond it, the third eye and the crown, which is the fourth level of Islamic spirituality, which is marifat. And this is where the individual starts communing with Allah, communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he gets divine ilm, or we talk about in ilham, which is inspiration from the divine source. And finally, which is sufiyat, which is the higher crown, which is just above the head, which is where you merge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The human body has got 9 openings, and if you counted the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, 2 plus 2 is 4. The nostrils is 2 openings is 6. 4 plus 2 is 6. The mouth is 7. Then you have the opening of the anus, which is 8. Then you have the opening of the penis, which is 9. Then there are 3 other openings which are closed. The one which is the navel, which is the 10th one. The 11th one, which is the third eye, which is between your eyebrows towards the center of your forehead, which is called as third eye. And then the 4th one, which is right at the center of your head, which is the crown. And when you were born from your mother's womb, you if you have children, that infants, that part of the brain is not closed. The skull is not closed at that time. When the baby is born, it's slowly later that the skull forms over it, and it becomes solid. So there is an opening there when you are born. So for a realized individual, for an enlightened individual, the soul of a human being, when it is leaving the body, if it is a less realized individual, it can go from the lower openings. It can go from the anus opening, it can go from the penis opening, based on the level of quality of life and spiritual evolvement. The soul can escape from the body or leave the body from any of the 9 openings. But the highest level, where the soul goes into illallahu, of a realized soul, the angel of death, Israel salatu wasalam, the soul comes out from the crown of the head, which is the top, and that's where the soul is destined for illallahu. So these are deep spiritual ilm. Again, the why this is being shared is so that if an individual wants to go through this path, it's an invitation, and also to let the individual know that if it's your destiny, you can keep going. Before we're coming towards the end of the presentation, the meaning of Alhamdulillah. Again, this is a secret ilm. Alif is for Allah, Lam is for Mahiuddin, which we talked about, the Qutubs of the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is a vibration, the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever we have shared so far, everything is from the ilm of the Qutub. The Meme, Alif Lam Meme, if we look at Alif, Alhamdulillah is comprised of Alif Lam Meme, Ha and Dal. So Meme stands for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ha is for Hayat, the life in this world, and Dal is for Dunya. Using this Dunya for learning the ilm of Alif Lam Meme in the blessed life, the Hayat which Allah has given in this Dunya. So when one understands the secret of Alif Lam Meme in this blessed life, in the Dunya, then will one attain Alhamdulillah, which is Alif Lam Mim Ha Dal put together. And when that soul gets that wisdom, then the soul with the complete realization, when it talks about Alhamdulillah, when it says Alhamdulillah, it means Alhamdulillah because it understands it. And it's not just an empty recitation, it's saying, oh, Allah has given me good house and good bank balance, so I'm saying Alhamdulillah. No, no, it's not like that. It is the soul's realization of the deep meaning of the, of the universe, and and the purpose of my existence, and where I should be going to, and then appreciating and loving your creator for his mercy that he has bestowed on you through being born into the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and getting the faiz, or the blessing from the Qutubs of the Ahlul Bayt, and and it coming from a deep sense of gratitude that you were nothing, and here Allah in his infinite mercy has blessed you with all this ilm, where you love Allah and his Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Ummah Amina, Ummah Fatima, Ummah Khadija, Ummah Maryam, Ummah Asiya, Ummah Halima, Ummah Hajra, all these beautiful mothers who sacrificed their entire lives to bring this ilm for your disposal. So when you start loving the mothers, and that becomes your existence, that becomes part of your prayer. This particular topic is discussed more deeply in Fanafe Rasul in another presentation. Okay, so we just keep going. The true prayer, again, as we go through this journey, we develop sabur, shukur, tawakkul, alhamdulillah. These are different states, the entire four states combined together, where you have patience, you have shukr, you have tawakkul, and alhamdulillah. All those put together, defines the iman, or the relation of abd of Allah to his Lord, his supreme Lord, and to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We just have one quote which Umar Rabitul Adwi, one of the greatest saints of our Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest of the great. You should read about these saints. And she said that, "O Allah, if I worship Thee for fear of hell, burn me in hell. If I worship Thee in hope of paradise, exclude me from paradise. But if I worship Thee for Thy own sake, grudge me not that everlasting beauty," which is seeing the effulgent light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if you are seeing. And that is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is the highest level of prayer, which is ihsan. I cannot end this presentation without quickly going through the slides. Here's the blessed the resting place of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Shafina Habibina Murshadina Muhammadin Nabil Ummi wa ala ali wa sahbihi ali bayti wa barik sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Shafina Habibina Murshadina Muhammadin Nabil Ummi wa ala ahli wa sahbihi ali bayti wa barik sallim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Shafina Habibina Murshadina Muhammadin Nabil Ummi wa ala ahli wa sahbihi ali bayti wa barik sallim. It is the deep love and the gratitude, falling at the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Qutubs of this blessed ummah, that Allah has blessed us with this ilm of Qutubiyat. And I pray for every person who listened to this presentation, that Allah gives him the tawfiq, or the blessing, to go deeper into this ilm and acquire, so that his soul returns back into the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. The blessed, the structure, the location of the grave of Allah, of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's the green dome there. When you go to Madinah Munawwara, and if you look through the slide, where the blessed grave is, all the faiz, all the blessing, for the tariqat sheikh, it goes from the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the heart to the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, or Ali radiallahu anhu, based on the tariqats. From Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu came the Naqshbandiya tariqat, and all the golden chain of the sheikhs below that. from Ali radiallahu anhu came the Qadriya, Chistiya, Sorwardiya, Madariya, Sabriya, and all those tariqat came from Ali radiallahu anhu. From the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the heart of Ali radiallahu anhu, then through the blessed Qutubs, of the tariqat, so it's again, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's resting place is the powerhouse, of spiritual focus. The blessed resting place of Amina radiallahu ta'ala anha. We all recite Fatiha for Amina. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين يهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. The blessed mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, falling at her blessed feet, the highest of the high mothers, and it is her sacrifices, we, the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if we get, to kneel at her feet, that is the biggest blessing that we get. Khadija radiallahu anha, the blessed wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Again, Fatiha for Khadija. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-rahmanir rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Yahdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. This is the resting place of Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, the blessed mother. Surah Fatiha for her. To أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين يهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. And finally, the blessings on my Shaykh, his mazar, final resting place at Coatesville in Pennsylvania, Baba Muhyiddin radiallahu anhu. Surah Fatiha for him. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-rahmanir rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Yahdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Additional presentations which are there on YouTube, which we have put there, again to take the seeker of truth to a deeper ilm. Fana fi Rasul is another presentation which is available, and Zabiha. People need to watch the presentation on Zabiha also, because the halal meat industry of today is nowhere close to what was prescribed by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Qutubs came to revive the true ilm, Muhyiddin, to keep the give life to the true faith which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought, and today's halal industry is nowhere close to the real Zabiha which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prescribed. So if you have time, please watch this presentation on YouTube. Again, we are putting a website together, www.zikrqutub.org. Inshallah, make dua that this website comes into being and all the presentations will be available at one location, inshallah. If you have any questions, we are here. Whatever help we can give, you can always send an email to zikr-e-Qutub@gmail.com, and the website of my Sheikh Bawa Mahiuddin radiyallahu anhu, www.bmf.org. Assalatu assalamu alaikum. Please make dua for this brother, so that I also walk with you and live this life peacefully and end peacefully. And inshallah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the mothers, Umma Amina, Umma Khadija, Umma Fatima, Umma Maryam, Umma Asiya, Umma Halima, Umma Hajara, the mercy of these mothers, the blessing of these mothers, that we go into my soul returns to the heart of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, into the illallahu. Assalatu wassalamu alaikum.